Hello, high levelers, Rayo Daniel, and I've really got some exciting content here in this particular video here. I'm going to be showing you three different types of AI bots that you can actually set up inside of Highlevel. Now, they're all related to AI, but there are three different ways of doing it, and you may choose one versus the other depending upon your specific purpose of how you want to implement AI. Specifically, and I'll mention later on, AI appointment setting. If you ever want to do appointment setting and that kind of thing, then there is a particular AI that I would recommend using inside of the Highlevel platform. So before we get started, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please click the subscribe button. I do appreciate your support. So right now, let's just kind of hop into this. There are three different types of AIs that I'm going to show you inside of the Highlevel system here. Now, one thing I do want to make perfectly clear, you do not need any other third parties other than Highlevel to do this. Now, what I mean by that is that you don't need Zapier, you don't need Make, you don't need any other third party system to make an AI bot work inside of Highlevel, regardless of what you see from other videos on YouTube or elsewhere. And I'm sorry to bust your bubble on that one, but that's just one thing I wanted to make sure you understood right off the bat. Everything you need to do can be done inside of Highlevel. Now, before we get started here, one of the things I do want to show you are a couple of really good help articles and support articles inside of Highlevel that I think would benefit you very much if you're going to be implementing AI. Give them a little peruse. This might take you, 20, 30 minutes to go through all of these, and it's a really good resource. So let's take a look at those real quick. The first one's going to be how to enable and rebuild LLC premium triggers and actions and workflows. So before you can start using the AI features inside of Highlevel, you have to turn them on. So you have to go to the agency level and turn them on here. And right now, I'm not going to show you how to do all that stuff in here. This help article will explain how to do all that. But you need to turn on conversation AI. You need to turn on workflow AI, things like that in order to enable these features inside of the Highlevel platform. And that's what this right here, this help article will help you do. So plus, if you also are an agency and you're looking to rebuild this, or you're looking to sort of make money off of AI, then this right here will show you how to set up your SaaS configurator to go ahead and set up a rebilling scheme in order to make money off of your clients utilizing these services each month once they go above and beyond the amount of money that you might give them every month on their plans, if you do that or not. Now, the next thing is pricing and rebilling of conversation AI. Again, I think this is a really good one here, and I just want to let you know that this AI is not free. Okay, using the AI features inside of Highlevel is not free. And there is one other thing I want to make sure that we know right off the bat. ChatGPT is what Highlevel uses for every AI feature that it has. Now, question you might be having is what version of ChatGPT is actually used by Highlevel. I did have to go through and dig through a couple of support people to actually narrow this down, but the default right now is version 3.5. So that is what Highlevel uses for all of them, except in one area, and it has to deal with the very first sort of AI bot that we're going to take a look at here, and I will show you where you can change the 3.5 section to 4.0 if you want to use the 4.0 version of ChatGPT. However, in other forms, as we move through it here, we're going to be talking about conversational AI, things like that. Those features, you do not, at this point, get to choose what version of ChatGPT you want to utilize. You're using the 3.5 version for all of those features right now until Highlevel changes that or allows you to have an option for that. So I want to make sure that you knew that, because knowing what platform you're working with kind of helps you understand what to expect whenever you put prompts in and you're looking to get responses back. So rebuilding a conversation AI. Another one is how to configure workflow AI actions. We will take a look at this. This is by far probably one of my favorite ones that in the AI bot range. And then the last one is going to be AI tools inside of Highlevel. This is a great article that kind of explains how AI is integrated across the Highlevel platform, not just inside of the AI bots that we're going to be talking about here, but how does it integrate with the blogs? How does it integrate with Social Planner? How does it integrate with all of these other features inside of the Highlevel platform? So I just want to make sure that I give you a little bit of resources here. Now, these are available on the help support, and I do think they're worth going over. Again, they don't take very long. This one's a little bit of a longer one, but it kind of has a lot of images in it that allows you to see real quick without having to go inside of Highlevel where they're covered. Now, getting back into the AI bots, there are three different ways that you can turn on and utilize AI inside of the Highlevel platform. Now, number one is what we're going to talk about first. I'm going to kind of go through the three, and then I'm going to go through inside some of the demos, some of the automations, workflows, and things like that, and show you each one of them step by step. So if you're looking for one, you might need to skip around the video a little bit here, but one of them is going to be using the premium ChatGPT or the OpenAI workflow action inside of the Highlevel, inside of the workflows. Now, this was a premium feature that was added probably a year ago, maybe a little bit more, inside of the Highlevel. They integrated ChatGPT and allowed you to actually start sending, using prompts and things like that inside of the workflows to generate responses before they had new features like conversational AI, which is the second one that we're going to be taking a look at here. Now, the conversational AI does have its purpose and usage, and it's very cool. If you're looking for just the conversational AI, when we get there, I will let you know that I won't go in depth over the conversational AI, like how to set it up, how to do a lot of the training. That's in a separate video on my channel, just called Conversational AI. I dig deep just into that. But I will go over and show you some of the use cases and things like that. And then third, we're going to go over is the workflow action for the conversational AI. So these are all going to be cool things that I'm going to show you and kind of go through how you would pick and choose which one of these you want to utilize. Now, the goal of this video is not to confuse you. It's just to simply show you and help you understand when people talk about AI bots, there are more than one way to set up an AI bot. And it really depends upon your purpose and your skill set and things like that. And, I guess how you want to set it up inside of your system, or maybe even what your clients want to implement. So right now I'm inside of one of my demo accounts, and I've got this folder called AI bot workflow set up. Now, the first thing I'm going to go over is how to just use connection directly with ChatGPT and how to utilize that particular workflow feature here. So I'm going to open this up and just kind of give you an example. Now, with any workflow automations, it has a trigger, and the trigger is just some way to start the workflow. What starts the workflow, what initiates it, what makes it start processing. Now, this trigger that we're going to deal with here is just going to be what they call a customer reply trigger. It's one of the more common triggers that you're going to get. This just means that you received a response from a customer on a particular channel. And what I mean by channel is, any way that Highlevel can communicate with its customers. Now, if we take a look here, I'm going to blow this up just a little bit here. Now, if we take a look at this, I need to move myself over here so we can see this, but inside the reply channel, if we take a look, there are several things that we can deal with here. So when I talk about channels, you can have this channel configured to respond on any workflow for any of these channels, whether it be an inbound call, a chat widget, if somebody sends you an email back, Facebook Messenger, Google, Instagram, the live chat feature, if somebody texts you directly, or even using the new WhatsApp feature. So that's pretty cool that all of these are channels that you could set up automations and workflows and continue to use ChatGPT as a way to communicate with them. So that's pretty cool. Right now, I'm just going to be using the chat widget because it's pretty much the simplest. Now, what are some of the other common triggers that you might have? On this one, very simply, you might have the conversational AI or the ChatGPT AI bot communicate when somebody fills out a form. So maybe they go to your website and they fill out a form, and instead of this, you might have a trigger. If you click trigger here and you just type in form, you see form submitted. This is pretty straightforward. You would add a filter just saying what the form is. You would give the form, I have a lot of them here, but you would just say maybe it's an opt-in form. So here on the opt-in form, whenever they opt in and do that, then you want to have the chat GPT go back and start responding to them and have a follow-up system and things like that. That's completely up to you. This can also work with Facebook leads. I mean, the beautiful thing about Highlevel and the way they built the workflow actions, they've given you triggers so that you can trigger this off multiple items or one item anytime you want. So this is pretty cool and pretty great. So right now we're just going to deal with the chat widget. So somebody's going to go to your website, they're going to fill out the chat widget, their name, their phone number, and their message, and then once you have that, you've got a contact record automatically built inside of Highlevel. So again, when you're thinking about this, you have to think about your entire process, how you want things to be processed moving forward. So this means that if you have, let's just say, a team of people, inside you've got a staff that processes requests or salespeople that processes new leads. However you want to do that, you might want to have this nice little assign to user function. Now what this does is when a contact comes in and you want to assign it to a particular user, you can actually put this assign to user. That means the contact now has been assigned to a particular salesperson or staff member on your team, so that now that contact is owned by them and they could follow up with it directly. So that's a way of doing that. Now, the cool thing about this is if you want to sit back and add a user to this, you would just simply click on this, and you can, I've got some couple of demo accounts here, but you can add multiple users to this. So you can add your whole sales team if you want to. And what happens is that it uses a round robin approach. It goes through the very first one. Let's just say the person that comes through will be assigned to John Smith. The second person comes through, the workflow will assign them to Jane Smith, and so on and so forth. So it uses sort of a round robin approach so that it's not assigned to the first user all the time. So that's pretty cool that you can put that in there. And then that way these users are assigned to your salespeople and they can follow up with them directly. They can be put into their own pipeline. You can do all that kind of cool stuff here. But let's just say they come in and you're going to click on the chat GPT. Now let me show you where this item is here. If you come here and take a look here, this is going to be chat GPT powered by OpenAI. So this has changed the name of this workflow action from the original one. If you've watched sort of an older video that I had for building chat GPT bots, this workflow action was called something else, and now they've renamed it to just GPT powered by OpenAI. So this right here, again, notice that this little crown right here to the side, that little gold crown means it's a premium feature. Premium features mean that you have to pay for usage. Now, for the most part, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that you get like so many of them on your plan for free. If you have an agency, you get maybe like 100 or something like that, and then you start being charged after that. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think it's something like that. So right now I chose that, and this is what you end up getting when you select on it. You get an action name, so you can respond, give it a name inside of the workflow. Here's the option that I told you about earlier. So instead of using ChatGPT 3.5, inside of this feature only, this is the only place that Highlevel has this feature turned on right now, is to be able to use the GPT-4 version of ChatGPT here inside of this response. You can choose 3.5 if you want to, but depending upon that, you can sit back and both systems generate responses differently. Now, people sometimes like using 3.5 because it's a little bit more stable, been out more, and the responses from the 3.5 system are a little bit more what people call stable. So that's why Highlevel has been using the 3.5 platform for all the conversational AIs until 4 really gets to be solid, stable, and the responses from the prompts that you get are going to be expected. So here are some of the action types that you see here. I'm just using custom because in this kind of case, most people are going to have their own prompt. They're going to have their own messaging inside of this that's going to tell ChatGPT exactly what they want the response to do. And I'm going to go over that. But some of the other things here is being able to analyze the text sentiment, which is pretty cool because right now, if somebody's contacting you, if you want to, you can actually send that message for them through the analyze the text sentiment and determine whether or not it's positive or negative. So just as an example, so somebody might be on your website and they might be, for instance, complaining. They might have a complaint against bad services or a product that they ordered not being shipped correctly. I'm not sure. But if you wanted to, you could set up a ChatGPT bot where you would have this text, analyze text, and then this input right here would just simply be, and this is just a sample, but the input text would actually be from the message that you actually got. So this would be like your message body. The message that you received inside of the ChatGPT, you can actually put that in here to determine if this is going to be a positive or a negative sentiment. And if it is, you can actually then use something like an if statement to generate whether or not, if it's positive, it goes down one branch, and if it's negative, it goes down another. And I'm just trying to give you some ideas here. There are so many different ways that you can set up this to use these features. It really depends upon your use case. Now, I'm not wanting to mess this up, so I'm just going to close that out and go back into it. I'm using a custom one here, which just means it just gives me a prompt and allows me to sit back and type in a message here. So what I want to do is just kind of read this real quick. My name is username. So whatever the user in the system is that's been assigned. In this case, my name is John Smith and my company name is DigiGlobal Agency. Customers contact us to get information regarding our digital marketing services like website design and customer automations. Generate a friendly and professional response to a potential customer named contact.firstname. So keep in mind this right here is generated from the chat widget. So whatever they put in for their name, boom, that's what will be put here. So that way the ChatGPT will be able to respond back with that person's name, because you're telling it in the prompt, generate a response for this person, and it could be whatever their first name is, who sent the message.body. So you're actually passing in the name and the message for that person had. Keep the response less than 50 words. The goal of the conversation is to get them to book a strategy call at this link right here. So that right there is just an example of a prompt, and I'm just going to let you guys know I am not the world's super best ChatGPT prompt person here. So however you need to do this, if you need to hire somebody to create prompts for you, or if you're already good at it, that's great. But this right here is a good way to actually just simply utilize this workflow, generate a response if you already have a prompt that somebody wants to, that you want to use, and then get them to respond. So I'm going to just leave it like that and kind of go over some of the pros and cons of why you would want to use this and why you might not want to use this. Now, the last thing we got here is the temperature setting. So a lot of people, may want to play with the temperature settings. Just keep in mind, the lower the number, the more stable the response. The higher the number, the less stable the response is going to be. The more varied the ChatGPT system will respond back with it. So typically the temperature is set by default to 0.2. And if you want to, you could just leave it there, test all the results out, which is, by the way, always a good report. Test, and test. So this right here is one way. And if we take a look at this, somebody sent in a chat message. It was assigned to somebody. We sent this over to ChatGPT. Now from ChatGPT, we're going to wait and then we're going to get a response back. And this is the response that we're going to get from the chat widget back to the person who responded. And all we're going to do is simply use this feature, GPT.response. Now, where do we get that from? It's not made up. If you click on these custom values and scroll down, notice that you will see, I'm trying to blow this up a little bit so we can see this. There is a ChatGPT option here. Sorry, and then first response. So that right there is just an example of being able to sit back and respond. I'm just only going to put one of them in here, but this is a way that you can actually put in the response from ChatGPT, all using the the stuff inside of Highlevel, and there you go. So now ChatGPT generated a message based upon a response from the chat widget, based upon the person's name and what their message was and what your goals, what your company name was. ChatGPT will take all of that and create a nice little response back. Hi, my name is John Smith. I work with Global Agency, and blah blah blah. I got your message regarding this, and and the best thing we could do is set up a strategy call. You can use a link here to set something up, or just however it's going to respond. It will respond back to somebody. Now, what we want to do is we want to sit back and wait. Because obviously if you send a response back, you might actually get a response back from the other person. Now, you may not get a response depending on what it is. If ChatGPT is able to respond back to them and give them the response they're looking for, perfect. Then that's great. They can respond, they can click the link to book a strategy call, and they will eventually exit from this workflow. But in case they don't, they might have another reply back that they want to get a response from. So here's just where we need to build this out, and this is where you will need to put in a wait condition. You're going to wait instead of waiting for like a certain amount of time. What you're going to do is you're going to wait for the contact to reply, and when you do this, you will be able to choose what reply from. So we want to use this SMS first reply right here. So we want to wait for that response, and we're going to wait 2 hours. Now, if somebody responds within 2 hours, they will continue through this workflow and go down to the next step, which I'll show you. And if they don't respond within 2 hours, let's just say that ChatGPT, the response, was able to answer their questions, maybe they booked a strategy call at that particular point, then they don't respond within 2 hours, they fall out, it times out of the workflow, and then the workflow exits. So it just happened just like that, and that's that. Now, if they don't respond, here's a condition where maybe you want somebody to respond or don't respond. This is where you can sit back and have an if statement. So if you're going to do this, you can simply click here, and you just want to choose an if statement, this if else statement right here. And what you're going to do is just simply choose a condition where I chose to say this one, response received. And what you're going to do is come down here to just choose inside of here the contact reply. And I'll try to blow this up a little bit, contact reply, and then the contact replied. This is going to be what they call a Boolean value. It's going to be either true or false, or you can actually get the replied message if you want to. I don't plan on doing that yet. I just want to know if they replied. So here, if we do this, we see we get to select true or false. I'm going to select true because this is the response received area. And if the contact replied false, there is no response. So when we do that, this is a great way to break it out. And this is kind of how, if you wanted to, you could build a follow-up campaign inside of the same workflow. So if they didn't respond, you can simply come down here to the no response. I'm trying to blow this up some, the no response sort of area of the condition, that branch, and you can put in another SMS message following up with them. Hey, I just want to find out if you got all your questions answered, something like that. And then based upon that, you can simply come down here and go to OpenAI, choose this again, and then have another prompt if you want to that's going to take that message and then respond back to it again. So you can build this out and be as elaborate as you want to. One of the things that I've seen as sort of a best practice is if you're really going to start building a follow-up response for this, realistically, just trying to keep things segmented so these workflows don't get like huge. I've seen workflows that get with these branches of if they replied and didn't reply and just keep going down forever, and they do get a bit complicated. So one thing you could do here is actually wait for a reply, and then based upon the condition here, you might actually send them off to another workflow. So you might have a follow-up nurture workflow that you send them into, and then that way they go into another workflow, and it's just easy enough done. So this is one way. It's pretty straightforward and pretty easy to get this configured, and you could do this literally in just a matter of a few minutes. Some of the other ones, again, maybe take a little bit longer, but some of the pros of this one is that you can implement it quickly. If you want to get a response and you're good at being able to write ChatGPT prompts, you can simply utilize this feature, send it, and it's gone. Now, some of the negative things about this that I will let you know is inside of this particular version of ChatGPT, there is no continuation of a session, if that makes sense. So if somebody, the very first response here, when you send this out and the response is returned, then ChatGPT ends the conversation. So if you initiate another prompt, like further down here after the SMS that we talked about, if you implement another prompt here, it's not a continuation of the existing session. That session above, this one that we just went through in the first response, this one is done and closed. So in a sense here, ChatGPT doesn't have a history of the conversation. So you just need to make sure that you're aware of that. On the following prompts, you need to make sure that you prompt and tell ChatGPT that this is the second response to this customer in the conversation, or change the prompt slightly to help ChatGPT understand this is not the first time that it has responded to this customer. So however you want to do that, however many times you want to do that. Now keep this in mind. There are no time limits on the number of times that you can have them do this. So problem with this is going to be, I would never really recommend this trigger for SMS. Now, and I'm telling you this because I've seen it happen. So if you have this for SMS, so that means anybody that just texts your phone number could get a ChatGPT response. The problem with that is that this workflow, if I save this, this workflow is going to fire every time somebody sends you an SMS message. And there's no limit to that. They can keep sending you 2 messages, 5 messages, 10, 100. And your ChatGPT is going to keep responding back and back to them like it's the first time that they've communicated with you. And that could be problematic because the experience for that particular person could be different based upon just the responses that they get. And it may not be just the kind of, I guess, just the experience that you want to have when somebody contacts you. So just be careful of that. Be careful and think about how you want to use the AI bot setter so that it doesn't endlessly loop over and over again and that the conversation flows down a certain path. So that's one of the cons that I've found of dealing with the ChatGPT bot. Hey, real quick, guys, if you're looking to start your own software company, then click on my free course in the link below. I'm going to teach you 8 ways that you can start your own software company very easily with no money out of pocket, no experience, and absolutely no tech skills. Check it out, click the link below, and let's get back to the video. Now, I will sit back and kind of explain this one here. If you wanted to, you really could build this out and make this like really extensive. You can add triggers for missed phone calls. We've got all these different triggers for phone call, chat widget, SMS, Facebook Messenger, Google. You can have triggers for all of them if you want to. And come down here and based upon what trigger they triggered them, you can sit back and have them go down a certain channel and have all of your communication, ChatGPT stuff all done in one workflow if you want to. This right here, it gets to be busy if you have a lot of stuff in here. That's all, just not that you can't do it. If you just want to have one workflow that handles everything for everybody, perfect. You could do that. You could build it out just like this with multiple triggers, have an if condition, and then from here branch out and do exactly what we did in the other one, where if you want to have a follow-up sequence, you can have a follow-up sequence on that particular if they responded or not, and so forth. You can go crazy with the automations here inside of Highlevel because they allow you to do whatever you want, which is pretty awesome. Now, that's one way of doing it. And if you really want to do something just really quick, down and dirty, and that's a great way of doing it because you can generate that and get that done pretty quick. And if that's for, like, let's just say you use that for Instagram DMs, then you can just have the ChatGPT bot respond to people on Instagram and boom, that's it. And you're done. Now, one of the other things I want to show you is the conversational AI piece. This is a relatively new feature inside of the Highlevel platform that was introduced. It's pretty cool. And I want to sit back and show this to you. So inside here, we're going to go to settings and then conversational AI. Again, you have to turn this feature on in order to utilize it. Now, inside of this feature, there's a bunch of different configuration settings. This is the feature that I told earlier that I'm not going to go into all the settings in here. Okay, this right here, really, if you wanted to, there's a whole other video on my YouTube channel for conversation AI that goes over all of this, the bot training, but I will cover some of them in here for sure. But I'm just not going to go over extensively. The other video does go over everything extensively and shows you how to do everything. So inside here, just some of the upfront settings, you can turn this feature off. You can put it into suggestive mode or autopilot mode. Now, suggestive mode, the only thing this really does is inside of your CRM system. If we come back here and notice, if we go to our contacts and just, I think we've got some fake contacts in here. We sit back and choose somebody. If we come down here inside of this, notice that there's nothing happened. We have to type an SMS message and so forth. So this was just like a test I was doing. But now if we wanted to, we can come in here to conversational AI, turn the suggestion mode on, and there might be a little bit of a delay for this. I hope this doesn't make me look foolish, but if you come down here inside of the conversational AI for this, typically what happens here, it looks like there's a little bit of a delay, but it'll start giving you messages. AI will start reading some of these previous messages and start giving you messages inside of here. Let me just see if I can refresh this. But the suggestive mode isn't automatic, meaning it'll sort of write it for you. And then when you click in here, we'll have to come back to it, I guess. Here, it's just not really working that quickly. But it'll suggest items for you there that you can click on and send. Now, if you hover over those, you'll be able to see the message that it wants. And we'll follow up with that hopefully here in just a minute. It'll be turned back on. But the biggest thing on this one is autopilot mode. This is the one that's huge. This is truly where you get automation and you can train this system on exactly what you want it to do. So this is where it gets pretty cool. Now, it's also, when it says pretty cool, you have to make sure that you test, and test before you put this thing in autopilot mode. So here, one of the things is, the nice thing that Highlevel built into this with the automatic mode, obviously besides being able to choose all the channels that you want to have the automatic mode reply to, keep in mind, if we wanted to keep, let's just say we only wanted to do Facebook on this one here. And right now, the conversation AI is responsive on Facebook, but you can have the ChatGPT bot that we just looked at respond to the chat widget. Now, this conversation AI is not going to be looking at the chat widget. See down here at the chat widget or SMS chat, that channel isn't selected. So that means the AI bot will not automatically respond on that particular channel. It'll only respond on the channels that you select here. So you can have multiple different AI bots running on different channels at the same time, which is cool. Why would you want to do that? It's up to you. I mean, you could do it however you want. But I'm just going to choose Facebook on this one. Now, one of the things that's nice is this right here, this autopilot mode. Now here, of course, I'm going to have to bounce back over to the other side. This right here, maximum messages a bot can send to the contact. This is where it gets very interesting, because right now you can actually, it's default set for 10, but you can sit back here and just lower this down and say, hey, I only want this bot to respond 5 times. And after that, that's it. That's pretty cool, because now the bot doesn't sit back and go and keep talking over and over again. It eventually ends a conversation, and the AI system knows how many responses it's going to utilize, so that on the last response, it'll actually utilize and sort of get whatever the goal of what you set this thing for. And we'll look at that here. Whatever the goal is, it'll kind of send that. So if your appointment, if this is an AI appointment setter, then it will look at saying, hey, if you'd like to set an appointment with us, you can click on the calendar link here. So it'll kind of end with that. Okay, so right now there is a wait time between messages, which is pretty cool. So it doesn't respond automatically. It's almost like it waits a little bit to show that it's a real person. Now, 2 minutes is kind of a long time here. Notice you have minutes and seconds. You might want to have something like 44 seconds. Just something that looks long enough to be able to generate a response. Type it, because obviously you can't send back 50 words in 2 seconds, because nobody's going to be able to type that fast. So it'll know that it's an AI system and might turn people off. So that right there is just an idea, or if you want to, you can set it for whatever you want here. But that's pretty cool. Now here, if you just to let you know, there is a 2 cents per response for this. So there is a cost for this. And if you're an agency using this for your client, you need to make sure that for this, I always have to make sure that you factor this into your cost. Meaning, if your client utilizes AI systems and they're utilizing this a lot across all their channels, this 2 cents could be, pretty quickly add up to 2 cents. 50 responses is $1. Boom. And if they're doing thousands of these per month, this bill can go up high, and high. And you as an agency owner are responsible for the bill in this. So you need to make sure that you understand that, and that you either give the appropriate credits to your client to let them know that they get so many usages out of this, or to make sure that you include this in your service plan. So please, that's just a little warning about that, because the cost, I have seen people with sticker shock say, how is it that, Highlevel charged me, $2,500 for conversational AI? It does happen. You could run up a bill that much if your people are using cold email, you're doing outreach, and you use the AI bot and automatic settings to automatically respond. You could definitely have a bill that high. So just please be cautious. So that's just one thing I want to make sure that we go through here. Now, besides this, there's a bot trial. And keep in mind, when you try the bot, once you train it, and we're going to go over that just briefly, you don't get charged for any of the responses here. So that's one of the great things about doing the training. You can sit back and ask it a general question. You could reset the conversation. So this is where you can ask the bot questions like you're a customer, and look at the responses and change and edit the responses based upon that. Now, bot training, this is pretty cool. You could do several different things here. I've seen a couple of primary things. You can actually point this bot toward your client's website. If they have a great website and they have like a great FAQ area, frequently asked questions, then Highlevel bot can read those questions, read the answers, and then form its responses and questions based upon those answers. So therefore, if somebody asks a question that's already on the FAQ, the bot can respond with a very clear answer based upon the answer that you provided on your website. Now, I've seen that be the case. Now, sometimes people don't have frequently asked questions on their website, but what I've seen other agency people do is they would build like a Google Doc of questions and answers and responses for a specific niche. So if you work with spa owners, you work with roofing companies, you work with solar, you work with whatever, you can have a certain list of questions and answers, an extensive list, all inside of a Google document. You share that document out, and you put the link here in this particular form, click get data, and it will read that Google document and then learn everything from that Google document for that particular niche that you have. And you can build, you can have one for every niche that you want, but it's going to learn all that information. Now, the nice thing about it is that you can actually have one of those sheets like per customer. So if there's ever responses in there that has a company name in it, or a contact, or a phone number, or anything like that, or even a booking site, then any of those things, you could just simply go to the Google Doc, of course, find, replace, edit that contact information for every customer you want. And then that way, when you program the bot for that particular customer, it has their specific information in it. So that is pretty cool. Now, If you wanted to, you can come down here and add specific questions and answers if you want to. That's a one-off. If you find out that you don't have it in the Google Doc, you could just add them here manually if you want. But here's the biggest thing that you could do. Configure the intent. What is your intent for this particular bot? So this is where you can sit back and spend a lot of time on. So right now, support, you can sit back and edit your prompt here for what you want to do. This right here, Highlevel tries to do a very good job of just creating general, who is the bot, what is it for, what's the goal, anything else you need to know. All these things right here, you can program and put in the particular bot for your industry, what is it you're trying to accomplish, and so forth. But the thing about this is that you can only program this system so much, meaning you cannot have a directed conversation with this particular conversation AI. Meaning, if you have a particular niche, and that niche, every time they answer the phone, if it's like a roofing company, I'm just going to say roofing. If somebody calls a roofing company, there's only so many reasons they call a roofing company, so many questions that they're going to sit back and ask. So if you really take all of the conversations that the person who is answering that phone in the roofing company has and broke them down into a conversation, if you did that, then you can have a more directed conversation that can hopefully get people to the correct answer or to what they want quicker. And we're going to take a look at that next. That's still using conversational AI, but it's using more of a directed conversational AI inside of the workflow. That is pretty cool, and that is definitely my favorite out of all of these, because that's the one that you have the most direct control over. Now, this conversational AI system that we have here is good. I mean, it is very good for sitting back and answer questions. This is very good for being able to sit back and train it and to sit back and have very basic questions. Ultimately, get them to the point where they can book an appointment call. And this is where, if you look at configuring intents, I didn't really look at this, but if you want to do appointment booking, you can simply turn this on and do appointment booking. Now, if you wanted to, this right here does pull all of your calendars that you have, so you can actually have it book an appointment directly with you. Here's one of the things I do want to explain to you though. Let's just say if you do have a calendar here and you don't check this box right here. It says don't book appointment, only send the booking link. Now, if you don't select that checkbox, this is where the AI bot's going to go, hey, would you like to schedule an appointment? The person responds yes. So it's a positive response. The AI bot says, great. I have, what works best for you, Monday or Tuesday? Tuesday works best. Great. Does morning or afternoon work best? Great. Which one? Well, we have a morning appointment between 10 and 11. Does that work? So it'll go back and forth and find out from the calendar what available bookings it has based upon the slots that are open, and then tries to book that particular person into that slot. You could do that, but keep in mind when you do that, you're burning your, 2 cents every time. 2 cents, 2 cents, 2 cents, 2 cents. And that right there can look to an increased number in the bill, especially if it becomes problematic. Or you can just simply say, check this box and say, don't book the appointment. Just send them a link to booking the appointment in the calendar. And based upon this particular calendar, it'll know what link to send them to book them directly into that particular calendar. So, and let them choose whatever appointment time they want, what's best, book it, and fill out all the information and stuff like that. So this right here is another way, again, a very good way of being able to sit back and have the AI bot respond. Now I'm going to sit back and just come back to the contacts and see if this thing is, come on. So if I come back here to choose somebody and I come down here, and of course that thing still isn't, the suggested mode still isn't working here, so I'm not sure what happened with that one. But beyond that, those are the two methods that you can set up already. Now the third method, what we're going to go through is back into the workflow areas. So this right here is ultimately my favorite, because if you have a client and the client is very predictable on the people that call, the questions and answers that they have, and the sort of the direction that the conversation takes place, then what you can do is you can build a bot very specifically toward that type of conversation. So again, if somebody's contacting a roofing company, it's either to get service on a roof or to get an estimate for a new roof. So, I mean, that right there might be a great, way to break out the conversation to begin. It's like, hey, thank you so much for contacting our roofing company here. Are you looking to have service and repair an existing roof, or would you like to have an estimate on a new roof? So depending upon that answer, then you can direct the conversation toward a different path. So that right there is just very directional, and then allows the user to pretty much choose which way they want to go. So we're going to take a look at that. So here again, we have a trigger. I'm just using the chat widget here. Now, just again, keep in mind, you would never want to have two different workflows, with the previous one with dealing with ChatGPT, and then have the conversational AI workflow action both on the same channel at the same time, because then they're going to start getting multiple responses. Both workflows are going to fire. So please be careful of this, because you'll just look foolish when people get two different responses from two different AI prompts. So anyway, that could just be kind of silly. So here we're going to trigger this based upon a contact the chat widget. Now the conversation AI, when we take a look at it here, notice that we do get some different configurations that we had from the previous ChatGPT. We do not get to select 3.5 or 4 here. This is just 3.5. So this are the options that we get. Now, this is a basic. I'm not going to, I'll go over the advanced bot configurations here a little bit, but this right here is just the general one that you get if you want to leave sort of the defaults on the advanced bot, and it really goes up to you if you want to change that. But the question right here is you can just simply come in here and start with asking questions directly. Now, this right here, I know I gave a roofing company, but this right here is a demo account that we had for Digi Global Agency. This is a marketing agency, so inside of this, we're looking for marketing services. So if we take a look here, and give me a second here, of course, I'm bouncing back and forth, trying to get out of the way. So here, of course, we can give it a name, and we'll take a look at the advanced bot stuff here in just a minute. But the question, hello, again, we're using the person's first name. Here because we got it from the chat widget. Thanks for reaching out. So it's here at location.name. So if you wanted to, you can just use whatever is here, or you can put in the company name, whatever you want. But it's completely up to you. Are you interested in our website, SEO, social media management, or funnel building services? So keep that in mind. This is one of those things. Or if you wanted to, you can just simply have funnel building services. Now, I don't have a catch-all here. So if you wanted to, you can come over here to say funnel building services or other if you wanted to. So, but you see the point of this one here. This isn't a chat GPT. This isn't like they take their message from here and they respond back to it. You could, if you wanted to, you could try to sit back and take the message and analyze it for you, or just simply start out with a question. If they respond, hello, thanks for reaching out to us, which one of these services, and then direct the conversation from there. So that's one of the things that you can do with this particular AI version. You do have a timeout here, so if they don't answer, it will time out automatically. Now, one of the limitations of this is that there's only a couple of channels that this works on. You can only have it work on SMS, on Facebook, or Instagram. Now, let me just take a minute and help you understand this. From this, if somebody communicates with you on Instagram, for instance, the Instagram and Facebook channels perfectly, but SMS, and I know this might be pretty basic, but if they communicate with you on SMS, means that you have to have their phone number. Now, if you have to have their phone number, that means you have to be dealing with somebody in a position where you would have their phone number. For instance, the chat widget. On the chat widget, it asks you for the first name, for the phone number, and for your message. Fair enough. So you do have their phone number to sit back and communicate with them on SMS. However, notice on here it doesn't say anything about live chat. So this is one of those things I did test on here, and it does not work. It'll bomb out. So just don't do that. But on the live chat feature of the chat widget, if you want to change it from the chat widget to live chat, this AI system doesn't work for that because it's not coming across on an SMS enabled channel, meaning you don't know the phone number of the person you're talking to because they're coming across as sort of an anonymous person. So hopefully that makes sense. So right now, that right there is just one thing to keep in mind whenever you're doing this, is that you have to make sure that it's within SMS, Facebook, or Instagram. And if it is SMS, that you do have to have their phone number. So if you don't do that, it can be quite frustrating because if there's no phone number associated with that contact, they'll fall right through the workflow. They'll enter the workflow, but then they'll go right through it because there won't be a phone number associated with that particular person. So keep that in mind. So here, when you talk about this is some of the things that you want to find out. These two things here at the top are very important. If you're utilizing these features, this is where you cannot get away from these. There are two branches that are automatically built into all of these, one of which is no conditions met, and the other is a timeout. So for this, again, the timeout is 1 hour here. We've already set it, so if it times out, it will go down this particular branch. Now notice that there is a red X here, meaning I put this branch here. Like I can put a branch for this, but notice there is no red X here, or red X on this one, meaning I cannot get rid of the no conditions met or the timeout feature. So let's go over what these kind of mean. So I just want to let you know that these are two branches that are always going to be a part of this new conversational AI. Now, just to kind of let you know, notice that this conversational AI has this little weird kind of robot looking guy. And if we come over here to click on this action, and if we come over here to this, we see down here that there is a conversational AI. This is the action that we're using inside of this particular workflow. So I at least want to show you where that is. Now, it doesn't have like a gold star next to it. It's not a premium workflow action, but you are being charged for it. Anytime you're using this conversation AI here, you have the same charges as you had from the previous version of conversation AI at 2 cents per communication. So this conversation AI really is an extension of the conversation AI that we're just at. And here's the pretty cool thing about this is that when you start using conversation AI here in the workflow, it will actually utilize all of the training and everything else that the bot knows in the other conversational AI area. So let me just kind of make sure we understand that. Here inside of this, when we configure this conversation AI, and remember we talked about training it by having it go to the website, or training it and having it go in this Google Doc where you have this massive question and answer session and all this type of information. Once you program that in here for the bot training, and this thing is trained here, and it gives you like thumbs up that we've reviewed and processed your information. You go to the bot trial and you respond back, and you get all these cool responses. Perfect. So this AI automation that's happening inside of here, when we go to the AI bot, this conversation AI will have access to all the information training that the AI conversation AI system has, which is pretty cool because now it can respond much better than the Chat GPT one. So again, a pro of using the conversation AI is that you can train it, you can program it, and it gives, to me, better responses based upon your huge amount of information that you're programming and training it versus the Chat GPT response. But there is a purpose that you might want to use one versus the other. So I wanted to show it to you. So here, if we take a look here, notice I've created a few branches. I've created a branch for, let's just say if they answered my question I had was, are you interested in our website, SEO, social media management, or funnel building services? So that was all I'm looking for. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 different responses. So I'm just looking for them to have one of those responses. If it wants to be another one, this is where it comes down to where there's no conditions met. So let me kind of explain that. Here, when I ask a question here in the conversation AI will evaluate the response they get back from that particular person and direct them down whatever path the AI thinks it means. So if I choose branch and just give it a name website here, this is just a name. It has nothing to do with AI. But the condition is this person is interested in website services. So that's the condition. Now, the condition is if they respond back with website, I want a new website, I want to replace my old website. If they respond in any way, shape, or form dealing with website, then the AI system knows that they're choosing website as the service and then take them down that branch. Now, SEO, this person chooses SEO services. So you see what I'm saying here. You can basically have any of these. Social media management, person chooses social media management. So any response that it feels is within one of these type of branches, it will send it down that particular branch. And then from there, you can ask it more questions. So here's where you can really have more, again, of a directed questioning and get them quickly to where they need to, or even get them to a person. For instance, let's just say you have a website and the website is for business. And this right here can lead them all the way down to actually booking an appointment with your corporate website services salesperson versus your corporate SEO salesperson that wouldn't want to book an appointment with that person because they don't want SEO, they want website services. So you can direct them all the way down and actually book with a specific person based upon the services that they're looking for. Pretty cool. So here are the different branches that you could possibly branch out to. And let's just say the response that is given doesn't match any of the ones that have been selected. Here's where this comes in. No condition met. So let's just say somebody puts in, to the question, are you interested in our website, services, blah, blah, blah. They say none of those. So if they reply none of those, then the AI system can't match that to any of the branches that you have configured. Therefore, it's going to go down the no conditions met branch. Hopefully that makes sense. So if somebody goes down to no conditions met branch, then you might want to ask them a more specific question or contact them, maybe push them out to a call and book them with somebody directly if they're not interested in any of these other services. If it's something different, like they could be calling in for support. Maybe you're already an existing customer and they want some support for whatever reason and they forgot your phone number and they're not calling you. I don't know. Take your pick. But the no conditions met is pretty cool because then if it doesn't meet any of those, then this is where it would follow and go down. Now, this right here, as you can see, kind of gets a little bit crazy here. And forgive me if I'm blowing this up a bit. Notice here for this conversational AI, I've got a branch for no condition met right here. I'm trying to blow this up. Timeout. So these are the two that we can't do anything with. Those are always going to be a part of it. So if somebody times out, then this is again where you can click on this and maybe send them into a follow-up workflow where rather than building out a complete workflow here, they try to communicate with you, you ask them a question, they timed out, but you at least got their information from the chat widget. Now you can push them into a nurture campaign where you communicate with an SMS and maybe try to book a call with them, but you can send them into another workflow here and have a follow-up system follow up after that. Pretty cool. So let's just say if they come down and they want to build a website here, then if you wanted to, this is where you can step into the next form, the next level of communication. Okay, great. They want a website. Let's ask them more details about the website. So here I can click on the conversational AI bot and go, are you looking to have a new website built or changes made to your existing site? So that right there might be a question that somebody gets, in there. It's like, I have an existing website that I want to get updated or changed versus a new website. So that could be two different teams inside of your organization that handle that therefore you can direct. If it's new, they might go to the new salesperson to book a call for like a strategy session call for, scoping out what a new website would cost versus a change to an existing site could be, hey, let me hook you up with the existing web development team, and they'll, charge you by the hour or something like that for their services. So this is just a way for you to, again, move the conversation along in the direction that you see fit and be more directional. Again, your communicating with SMS here or whatever channel you want. No conditions met, timeout, those are the two branches. So here I've just got a new branch or change. So, person chooses a new website, or the person wants to change their existing website. So you can put in here whatever condition that you want, and then based upon the response, the AI system will choose what branch and then take them down that particular branch. So if they say, oh, this is a new website. So if it's a new website, the branch right here, they choose a new website, it'll go down that particular path. And from here, we can go down and begin building out this conversation AI. If there's no conditions met, it'll go down here, timeout, again, follow up on this one here. But now, if you see, this is a little bit more unique. You can actually sit back and have this timeout value, if it's here, be a little bit more directed than the previous one above it, because now you know more information about what they want. You know they want a website, and now you can have your website team communicate with them directly versus a general sales customer service person trying to reach back out to them. So here again, we can simply have new or change down these branches, and from here we can simply do conversational AI again and just keep building the conversation till we get to the end point and directing the person toward that conversation to get to the point where it's like either we give them an answer over like what something would cost, schedule an appointment, connect them via the call method inside of Highlevel. If you want to sit back and click on this and say connect a call, maybe you can connect your call directly from the salesperson to the person doing it directly in real time if they want to. All that's possible. So this is how you can deliberately build out your bot based upon certain niches. Now, the great thing about dealing with niches is that most niches have very similar conversations. Again, if you have a roofer, the roofing conversations are going to be very similar. If it's a plumber, they're going to have, again, very similar type of conversations. Is it a leak? Oh, you need a new water heater. You need an estimate on whatever. You need drain cleaning. The conversations are going to be pretty standard on what type of services you offer and what people are looking for. When they call or they try to communicate with you online, they're just trying to get to the answer as quickly as possible, get something booked and scheduled as quickly as possible. And this conversation AI is like the best and most direct way of doing that, especially if you can lead the conversation. So here, if we take a look, if they chose a website, great. If they chose SEO, then again, you can come down here and say, great, are you looking for local or organic SEO? So you might have a different team that focuses on more, on-page, off-page SEO, or if they're just dealing with like local SEO, then you could have another team that focuses on that or different services that you have. And based upon that, the response that you get down here, local versus organic, you could just drill down more, and more. And again, you've got also your social media management and your funnel building services up here. All of these things you can continue, as you see, to just build them out more and more. Okay, so this is the great thing about having the conversational AI, is that you can literally lead and build out a directional conversation that can get people to, in 2 or 3 questions, answer this, boom. Now I know exactly who to send you to. Here's the phone number, here's the linking appointment, or boom, we're going to have a representative call you immediately, have Highlevel click call and connect the call directly to the person in real time through the workflow. If you get to that point where they're available, then you can have the salesperson call them right away in the workflow. Pretty cool. So these are just the different type of things that you can have inside of the Highlevel system. Pretty cool for the different type of AIs, but you could see how some of these fit together. Like the conversation AI works in like 2 different places, but the purposes for each one of them could be different. So even though you might go to, for instance, the conversation, and you might have, like in this conversation AI, you might leave it as suggestive here so that you got it turned on, and you can sit back and do like all your bot training. You can configure the intents, you can configure all these settings, but it doesn't respond automatically to things. And you can have that training available when you use it inside of the workflow like we just saw. So if you wanted to, you could turn it on automatic and let it go full steam ahead on certain channels if you want to. That would be another way of handling things, but then you might use the workflow action, the conversation AI, toward a different channel that you might want to target people on. If, let's just say, if somebody called you or somebody texted you directly. So you can just kind of see how these are different, but they have different purposes, and you might want to use them in different ways. So anyway, I hope you've gotten a little bit of information from here. If you got even like a nugget, one little small nugget, click on the like button, leave me a comment of what you thought regarding just these different AI systems and how you can use them and how you can get them configured. Again, if you do want to dive deeper into the conversation AI, check out the conversation AI video I have on my channel. It goes a little bit more in depth about this, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day, high levelers.